NCERT 6th class, Chapter 8, Village, Town and Trade. Prabhakar at the blacksmith shop. Prabhakar sat watching the smith at the local shop. There was a small bench on which iron tools like axes and sickles were laid out, ready for sales. A bright fire was burning and two men were heating and beating metal, rolled into shape. It was very hot and noisy, and yet it was fascinating to watch what was happening. Iron tools agriculture. We often take the use of iron for granted today. Things made of iron and steel are a part of our daily lives. The use of iron began in the subcontinent around 3000 years ago. Some of the largest collection of iron tools and weapons were found in the megalithic burial, about which in read chapter 4. Around 25 years ago, there is evidence for the growing use of iron tools. These include axes for clearing forest and the iron flail. As we had in chapter 5, the flail was useful for increasing agriculture production. One steps increased production irrigation. The king and kingdoms you have been reading about could not have existed without the support for flourishing village. While new tools and the system of transplantation increased production, irrigation was also used. Irrigations work that were built during the times include canals, well, tanks and artificial lakes. If you look at the chart, you will find that some of the stage in the construction of irrigation work are mentioned. Fill in the rest by using the following phrases. Labor is provided by the people. Farmer also benefit because crop production in the more certain. Farmer have to increase production to pay taxes. Kings provide money and plan irrigation works. Who live in the village. There were at least three different kinds of people living in most villages in southern and northern part of the subcontinent. In the Tamil region, large land loan were known as a velle. Ordinary ploughmen were known as a velle. Ordinary ploughmen were known as uzaran. Landless laborers, including slaves, were known as a kashyas and admis. In the northern part of the country, the village headman was known as the Ganme Bojak. Usually, men from the same families held the position for generation. In other words, the post was hereditary. The grandma Bhojo was often the largest landowner. Generally, he had slaves and hired workers of cultivate the land. Besides, as he was powerful, the king often used him to collect taxes from the village. He also functioned as the judge and sometimes as a policeman. Apart from the grandma Bhojak, there were other independent farmers known as a grahapati, most of the whom were smaller landowners, and then there were men and women such as a das, karmakar, and who did not own land and had to earn a living working on the field owned by other. In most villages, there were also some craft persons such as the blacksmith, potter, carpenter, and weaver. The earliest Tamil composition, some of the earliest work in Tamil, known as a Sangham literatures, were composed around 23 years ago. These texts were called Sangham because they were supposed to have been composed and compiled assembled, known as Sangham feet for Helen city. Madura, the Tamil terms mentioned above are found in Sangam literatures. Coins. Archaeologists have found several thousand of coins belonging to this period. The earliest coin which were in use for about 500 years were punch mark coins such as the one shown here. Punch mark coins were generally rectangular, sometimes square and round in shape, either cut out of metal sheet and made out of flattened metal globe. A small spherical body. The coins were not inscribed but were stamped with a symbol using dice punch. Hence, they are called punch marked coins. These coins are found over most part of the subcontinent and remained in circulation till the early centuries CC. Other means of exchange. Read a short poem from the Sangham collection. Cities with many functions. Very often a single town was important for a variety of reasons. Let us look at the example of Mathura. Mathura has been an important settlement for more than 25 years. It was important because it was located at the crossroad of two major routes, travels and trade, from the northwest to the east and from north to south. There were the fortifications and around the city and several sins. Farmers and herders from adjoining the areas and provide food for people in the city. Mathura was also center where some extreme fine sculptures was produced. Around 200 years ago, Mathura become the second capital of the Krishna, about whom you would read. Mathura was also a religious center. There were Buddhist monasteries, Jainism. It was an important center for worship of Krishna. Several inscriptions on surface, such as the stone slabs and statues, have been found in Mathura. Generally, these are short inscriptions recording gift made by men and sometimes women to the monastery and the strings. These were made by the kings and queen, official merchants, and the craft person who lived in the city. For instance, inscription for Mathura mention a goldsmith, blacksmith, weaver, basket in makers, garland, maker, perfume. Make a list for the occupation of people who lived in Mathura. List one occupation that was not practiced in Harappa cities. Craft and craft person. We also have the archaeologist evidence for craft. These include extreme fine poetry known as the Northern Black polished work. It gets its name from the act that is generally found in the northern part of the subcontinent. Remember that the archaeologist evidence for the many craft may not have survived. We now from a Texas that the manufactures of cloth was important. There were famous centers such as Varanasi in the north and Madurai the south. Both men and women worked in this center. Rules spinning and weaving. The rules from the Arthashastra mentioned in chapter 7. They described how spinning and weaving could be done. The workshop under the supervision of special official. Winning young women who are the differently abled, runs, mothers, cart person, retired women and servant from the king. Women who have the retired from the service and temples may be used for processing wool, barks and cotton, hampers of flax. They should be paid according to the qualities and quantity of work. Women who are not permitted to leave their the womb. Send a man servant to bring a raw material from the superintendent and take the finished work to back to him. Women who can visit to workshop they should go and down the give their work and receive their wages. There should be enough light to examine the work in case the superintendent looks at the woman or talks about anything other than work. He should be punished. If a woman does not complete her work, she will have to pay a fine and her thumbs can be cut off. Make a list of all women who could employ the superintendents, and do you think women would have to face a problem while working? Many craft person and merchant now formed an association known as a strings. The strings was a craft person provided trainings. The produce a raw material and distributed the finished product. The strings merchant organized the tradition also served as a bank, which where a rich man and woman deposit money. This was invested and part of the interest was a return used to support a religious institutions such as a monasteries. A closer look at the find argument in Pondicherry on maps between Sue and Spain. Years ago, argument was a coastal settlement where ship uploaded good from the distant land. A massive bringer structure which may have been a farmhouse was found in the city. Others might include pottery from the Mediterranean region, such as the taller double-handed jar, the continent liquid, such as a wine or stamp red cassette poetry known as the Aretine War, which was named after a city in Italy. This was made by the processing wet clay into the stem wood. There was yet another kind of poetry which was made locally through the Roman design were used. Roman lamps and glassware gems have also been found in the city. Small tanks have been found that were probably dyeing words used to dye cloth. There is a plenty of evidence for the making of beds from semi-precious stones and glass. This evidence indicate that there was a contact with home. An account of by Greek sailor the story of Brigada. The Gulf is very narrow, and very hard to navigate it for those coming from the sea. Ship had to be steered by the skillful and experienced local fishermen who were employed by the kings, and the import into the barrels were copper and tin, lead and coral brooches, and cloth, gold and silver coins. Export from the down included plant from the Himalayas, ivory and getters, scallions, cotton, silk and perfume. Special gift were brought by the merchant from the king. These include a vessel for silver, singing both beautiful women, fine winds and fine cloth. Make a list of all the things important export from the braces. Underline at least two things that were not any use during the Harappa times. Why do you think the merchant bought a gift for the kings? Traders, and you have to read about a northern black polished for these fine pottery. Especially bowls and plates were found from the several archaeological sites throughout the subcontinent. How do you think it riches? These places traders may have carried from them from the places where they were made to sell them at other places. South India was famous for gold, spices, especially papers and precious stones. Pepper was a particular value in the Roman Empire, so such as so that it was known as a black gold. So a trader carried many of these gold to Rome in the ships across the sea and by the land in caravans. There must have been quite a lot of traders. Many Romans gold coins have been found in South India. Can you think how and why these are rich India? A poet about trade. We can't find evidence of trade. As a Sangam poem, here is one which describes the goods brought into the important port of the east coast. Here is broad, swift branching horse by the sea in the ships, piles of black pepper in cart, gems and gold born in Himalayas, sandwood of one in the western hills, the pearls for the southern hills, and coral for the eastern ocean, the air, the Gangas and crops from the Kaveri, food stuff from Sri Lanka, poetry for the Myanmar. Traders explored several sea routes from some of these are followed by the coastal. There were others across the Arabian Sea and the Bay of Bengal, where sailors took advantage of the monsoon, find to cross the sea the more quickly, so if they wanted to reach the western coast of subcontinent from East Africa and Arabia. They choose a sail with the southwest monsoon, and a sturdy ship had to be built for this long journey. New Kingdom along the coast. The southern half of the subcontinent is marked by long coastline and with hills, plateaus and rivers valley amongst the river valleys. That of the Kaveri is the most fertile. Shiva king who controls the rivers valley, and the coastals become a rich and powerful. Sangam poems have mentioned whenever this is a Tamil word meaning three, the chiefs used for the head of the three ruling families. Chols, Chera and Pandyas were map 7 who become a powerful in South India around 200 years ago. Each of these is chef and had to the centers of power, one inland and one to the coast of the 6 cities. Two were very important, Puhar and Kaveri Patnam, the port of Kos, and Madurai, the capital of the Pandyas. The chief did not collect regular taxes. Instead, they demand were received gift from the people. They also went on military expeditions and collected tribute from the neighboring areas. They kept some of the wealth and distributed the rest. Amongst they supported and included members of their family, soldier and poet of many poets whose composition are found in the Sangam collection, composed poem in the phrase of chief who of Fen. Reward them with the precious stones and gold horses, elephant chariots and fine clothes. Around 200 years later, a dynasty known as Satya became a powerful in Western India. Mapan 7, the most important ruler of the Satyavasa was Gitambusha Sri Shankya. We know about him from the inscription composed on behalf of his mother, Gautami Balashmi. He had other Savasta rulers. Were known as the Lord of the Dakshina, literally the route of the bleeding to the south, which was also used as a name for the entire southern region. He sent his armies to the eastern, western, and southern coast. Silk route and the cushion. Some kings are tied to control large portion of the route. This was because they could benefit from taxes, tribute, gifts that were brought by traders. Traveling along the route and return, they often protect the trader who passed through. There are kingdoms from the attack by Rubala. The best known of the rulers who controlled the silk route were the Kushan, who ruled for Central Asia and with West India around 200 years ago. There are two major centers of power, Peshwas and Mathura. Takshashila was also included in this kingdom during the other rules, a branch of the Silk Route, extend for Central Asia down to seaport and the mouth of river include in the where the silk was shipped, and westward to the Roman Empire.